All right. Thank you all for joining us today. I am going to go ahead and let Catherine share her slides. Catherine is a member of the Acure Steering Committee and is the program coordinator manager at University of Oklahoma. And she's going to talk to us about our educational resources. So thank you so much, Catherine.
Denise. So before we get started, can everyone put in the chat how long they've been a urology coordinator? So we got a little over a year, 8 years, 13 years, 6 years, 8 months. Okay, so it sounds like, 48 years. Wow, Karen, that is amazing. Is that accurate? 48?
Yeah, since I started, even before ACGME.
Wow,
You know?
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's really impressive. The reason I wanted to ask is because I feel like the information that I'm presenting on today is a bit more surface level. So something that if you've been in this role a while or have been a part of the group, you may already be aware of. So I apologize if it scratches too much of the surface, but I know this is being recorded, so hopefully it can reach people online as well, but feel free to jump in. So today I'm just presenting on educational resources and specifically what Acure has to offer you in your role. So this is our brand new mission statement that I wanted to be sure to highlight. So the purpose of Acure is to establish and promote a standard of excellence among urology coordinators. And I would paraphrase this as saying, our job is to help you be great at your jobs. And I'm so thankful for this group. When I started, I didn't even really know what a residency coordinator was. And so knowing that there was this incredible network of people who have been doing it for a long time just brought me a lot of peace of mind. And I was paired with Stephanie as my mentor. And I reached out to her a few times, but it just brought me so much peace knowing that she was there and I needed something and not feeling like I was totally floundering. So I'm so grateful for this group and to be able to highlight the different things that we have to offer. So these are a few different ways that our group seeks to support coordinators. We help you study for your CAGNY exams. We have these regular professional development meetings. We offer leadership opportunities. So if you're looking to boost your CV, feel free to reach out. We are always looking for new people to help on different committees, and we also facilitate mentorship. I think one of the most valuable things that we have to offer is specifically our Google group. Is everyone a part of the Google group? You can put that in the chat as well. Okay, great. All right, again, so this may be very evident information to you, but hopefully it can reach the right people at the right time. So our Google group exists to facilitate communication. So it's an email address that you can email, and we're very responsive and very eager to help. But Google also allows us to use it for the purpose of document sharing and storing. So this can help you save money if your program doesn't have a huge budget for resources to buy different study materials. We may have it available in this digital storage, and it can allow us to connect you with new resources for you and your residents. So you want to be sure to check your spam folder. This is something I've noticed with Google Groups, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because Google Groups is managed by Google and Gmail. So you would think they would talk to each other a little bit better, but they don't really recognize their own messaging, and oftentimes it just goes to your spam folder. So I found it helpful to check there every now and then to see if I've missed anything. And you don't need a Gmail address in order to join the group, but it does make it a little bit easier. So I've included the URL there. And I am going to toggle out of my PowerPoint and go directly into the Google group so we can see what that looks like. Okay, there we are. So as you can see, every email that has ever been sent within Acure is stored here. So I have found that it's actually very easy to look up past communication by going directly to this platform, because we receive so much email at work that if you're thinking, oh, I know someone emailed this resource a couple months ago, it may take you 20 minutes to find exactly what you're looking for. And so this platform is limited exactly to Acure communication. So that'll make it a lot easier, and you can see who emailed it, and just accelerates things quite a bit. So at the top, we have this blue text that says click here to go to Google Drive. So we're going to click there, and that is where all of the secret goodies are. And I am not going to open each folder. I'm not sure if that would be a good use of our time, but I just wanted to highlight ones that have been very helpful for me, especially as I got started. So we do have examples of different policies. It seems like lately we've gotten more email requests in the group for examples of policies. So that can be really good to see how other programs do it. Also PLAs. So when I started, one of the things that people told me over and over again is you need to make sure you have a PLA. And I understood the acronym, like Program Letter of Agreement, but I didn't really understand what it looked like or what it was supposed to look like. So it was really helpful to pull up these examples here. And you will notice that they look like legal documents, and that's because to a certain extent they are legal documents. And when I started, we were creating a new rotation in New York, and I thought I, as a program coordinator, was responsible for writing this PLA. And I was like, oh, this looks really important, and I'm not a lawyer. That made me really nervous. So just as a heads up to anyone who's new out there, your institution probably has a lawyer that writes these things for you. So these examples can be helpful for you for your own education, but it's probably unlikely that you as a coordinator will be responsible for actually writing the text because it does have legal. And the interview folder has also been helpful for me, and I've revisited it a few times. And that's because we focus so much on the rules, I think, because we want to be compliant, but we forget that there's a lot of flexibility within the rules. So for example, when it comes to interviews, we know we're not allowed to invite people for a second look. We know that we're not supposed to ask invasive questions during interviews. So we focus a lot on what we're not supposed to do, but less on what we can do. And there's a lot of room for creativity there that I found. So I really enjoyed hearing what everyone else, how everyone structures their day, and that can change from year to year. So that's been encouraging for me as well to realize we don't have to do things the same way over and over again, and we can really learn for each other. And I think the SAU actually does grant us a good amount of flexibility in how we do our jobs. They just want to make sure we're protecting ourselves and protecting the applicants and our residents and our faculty, which is very reasonable. We have all of our Acure newsletters and resources. And this is a hot topic this year, the SASP, which is a study guide that the AUA puts out every year for residents who are studying for their yearly in-service exam. So it has a lot of practice questions, and our residents rely on this a lot. And they used to offer a digital version and then also a physical book that you can order. And as you can see, in the past, people have scanned the book and uploaded it, which is really great for us. It saves us a lot of time. And I know residents don't always like being on their phones. And if they don't have good Wi-Fi connection, it can be difficult to access the digital version. So this is, to borrow a term from our faculty, a very high yield resource, but it no longer exists as we know it. Because the AUA kind of realized that people were sharing the documents and kind of cracked down on that. They're now only offering the digital version. So as far as I know, there will be no 2024 PDF to share, unfortunately. But I still have it in the back of my head that I would like to lobby the AUA and see if we can get them to bring back the book, because I think that is really valuable for our residents. Okay, and the last folder I was going to highlight was, I think it's called the in-service and board review. So we know that SASP is probably like the most important resource that we can offer our residents, but this high yield urology book is something that our residents go bananas for. And as far as I know, we can still upload the PDFs So whenever the new fiscal year rolls around and we're able to order the 2024, I anticipate that a copy will be made available. But I think this is a very good substitute for the SASP. If you're not able to pay for the digital subscription for your residents, you can see it's very similar. It just goes over the different guidelines and has different questions and scenarios. So I think this can be a pretty solid alternative. And it's pretty similar in size to a 210 feet.
Hey,
Uh,
Catherine, quick question.
Yeah.
I've downloaded the high yield, but do they have the same kind of questions and answers in there? I didn't look at that. Did you notice that?
So they're written
Right,
by
I'm
two separate groups of people, so I don't think it's the identical content, if that makes sense.
Honestly, I hadn't looked at it that closely. I was just curious. I could go in and look at it, but I just was curious if you knew off the top of your head.
I am not sure. I think it's more like a study guide, so you can see it's breaking down key concepts, summarizing it, and then here I think.
Okay, I'll glance at it. You can get back on. I just was curious if you knew. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my presentation. Back here. And there we go. There's a screenshot of the different folders, and I highlighted the different resources that have been really valuable to me, and especially those tag me study sessions. Whenever I attend the sessions, it makes so much sense to me. And then 2 days later, I go back and look at the questions and it makes zero sense to me. And why was that the answer? How did they reach that conclusion? So I'm really grateful that our group makes those resources available, because I think we are probably I was going to say a better, but I think we can go ahead and claim the title of best group for coordinators in terms of providing study resources for the TAGME. As far as I know, other professional societies don't offer as many resources as we do. So the Google Drive is a great way to stay current, and be sure to ask if you're looking for something specific. But I do want to highlight that we discourage you from committing a crime. So as I mentioned, the AUA is a bit more particular about resource sharing. So don't upload something if you don't feel confident that it could get you in trouble. We don't want to get anyone in trouble, and we don't want to compromise the group in any way. So if you have any hesitation, it's best to ask, or even to look at the copyright rules that would be at the beginning of any document. So since that portion of my presentation was a little shorter and I think more self-evident, I went ahead and included just different time management strategies that have been really helpful for me, that I think broadly fit into the topic of educational resources. So how many of you have looked at the resident coordinators timeline on the ACGME website? Okay, yeah, a few of you have seen it. It's very long and it's very detailed. And when I opened it up my first day, I wanted to cry, because I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do all of this. I don't understand it, and it felt very overwhelming to me. So what I did was create my own timeline, and really just summarizing certain things and adapting them to the needs of my specific institution. So if you're fairly new in your position, I would encourage you to do something similar just to organize your ideas. I tend to think in tables. So this is how I structured my table. And I think there are things that are fairly self-evident, you know, like at the end of spring, start thinking about graduation, but it helps me think about what's coming next and what I need to prioritize. Because like I said, when I started, I just wanted to cry because I was so overwhelmed. And I think it's wonderful that the ACGME puts out a resource that is so detailed. But there's a way to adapt it to your specific needs. So you can see here, the bottom row, I highlighted specifically match tasks. And eventually all of these things will start living in your head, and maybe you won't need to see it on paper, but I think it's really valuable just to share your ideas. And also one thing I've realized, and I've heard other people talk about in this group, it's really important to think about succession planning. Like, we would love to think about the fact that we will be in this job forever and we will never leave. We will never have to train another person, but we don't know if that's the case. And so putting your ideas down on paper can be really valuable. If God forbid something happens to you and you have to be out for a couple months, or you find a better position, or you get promoted, I think that's a really important thing to do in our profession, because no one really understands what we do.
Hey,
So,
Catherine,
could
you go into presenter mode?
Yes.
This is just a little bit, this is a little bit small.
Okay, yes, I can definitely do
Thanks.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can see it has the ACGME survey on there, different conferences, meetings when the EDS happens. And I don't know what you consider your busiest time of the year, but for me, it's May and June. So you can see those columns are the longest. And I've also used this when it comes to planning vacations too. So as you can see, there's nothing in the month of February. So that's when I went on my honeymoon. So this is a very simple, low-tech time management technique that I've used, but it's just listing out my monthly tasks because I realize there are certain things that I do every month, and I would like to think that I will always remember to do them, but I do not. So I just type them up in this little checklist, and I have a stack of these white papers in a drawer, and every month I pull out a blank one and I tape it to my desk, so it's always front and center. And I know some people use different digital tools to track this, but for me, it's just been helpful to just have it on my desk. And finally, the thing that saves my life every day is the sticky notes function with Windows. Do any of you use the sticky notes? No? So I really like them. It's just an app you can download if you have the Microsoft suites, and it's free. And they're just virtual sticky notes that will always be present on your desktop. So regardless of whether or not you're toggling between like a Word file or an Excel file or a web browser or Outlook, it's always there. And this is where I list off all of the things that I consider pending. Like I'm just waiting for someone to follow up. So I did remove anything that could be considered violating privacy in this screenshot. So no worries there, but you can see they're just things that I need to keep top of mind that aren't urgent. So like deadlines for an award nomination. I need to get Avery her new badge for the hospital. I need to wait to hear to reschedule a talk. And I think as coordinators, we have so many things where we are waiting on other people to give us an answer before we can move forward with them. I don't know if you can relate to that. And so I would say this is like a medium level of things that I need to keep top of mind for myself. And it just really helps me make sure I haven't forgotten anything. So I would say probably every couple of hours, I'm looking at this sticky note and updating it because we have to juggle so many things at once. So I have a subcategory for travel for the AUA, graduation's coming up. So I need to be sure to follow up with the graduates to see who they want to invite. Thankfully, the onboarding checklist is pretty low at this point, but that'll get longer. So this is something that I implemented day one that I still hold on to. That has been. So I just have a few questions for the group because I really think we bring so much experience. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that we have someone who's been a coordinator for 35 years. That is just amazing. So you're free to jump in the chat or just unmute yourself if there's a specific resource that you want to highlight, or if you feel like there's something missing that the group could offer, or just how you manage your time. I just want to open up the floor to see what you all have to share.
Hi, this is Karen at Boston Medical. Since I'm getting ready to retire after all my years, I found it over the last year to like put everything in my Outlook calendar. Like you have a sticky note, I have it in a calendar. And as they are now popping up to do or complete, I'm making my notes on that so that I can give my successor where to go, where the file is and stuff like that. That's what I've learned to use.
So do you know who your replacement is going to be yet, or are you just
Oh.
trying to prepare as best as you can?
God, no, I have no idea. I'm still trying to come up with a date that I will retire. And it's very hard to make that steadfast date. And but I suspect over the next, I suspect probably June of next year. I will retire and I'm going to, try and start putting together everything. And when we got our letters yesterday, that took such a load off of my shoulders about what I need to do. So now I at least feel a little confident about getting everything ready and not worrying, oh, am I going to get a site visit? So that really took a load off my shoulders. And now I'm getting ready to like file like 20 years worth of paper because we moved from one office to another and everything was in 10 file cabinets down to they've allotted me 3. So I'm going through everything and purging and stuff like that, and hopefully going to scan everything and whatnot.
Well, it's such important work because like I said, no one really understands what we do or what our job is. And so, I mean, that's a real gift that you're giving to your
Yeah,
success.
I
Allowing
mean,
it to start with the things that
when I started, I mean, I wasn't doing just residency, I was doing clinic. I was the meetings coordinator, and my responsibility just evolved more and more and more, and I did it and whatnot. But they've said, okay, we need to, you need to get yourself out of here at some point. And yeah, so I don't have as many at least a lot of the clinical responsibilities. But primarily, especially where, ACGME says that you now need, depending on how many residents you have, what your percentage of an FTE is. So that's working out in my favor. And I'm able to do just, mostly GME work. And so it's good.
That's great. So I saw in the chat that several people use the sticky notes. So I love seeing that. And then someone said, oh, Miranda, that you make sure if your computer crashes that you have it backed up somewhere. That has happened to me too. If your computer crashes, the sticky notes can go away. So that's really unfortunate.
And everybody should feel that, if they have something that they feel is a great best practice, a document that would be helpful to the group, you can either send it to one of us or follow the directions that Catherine supplied and upload them yourself. The more documents that we share, the more examples there are for people to choose from to help just kind of, pick out something that's going to work best for their institution / their program, their department.
I do have one more slide. Yes. So I don't know how much longer the information in this slide is going to be accurate because I know that Acure is working on launching a website. I'm not sure exactly what the timeline is for that, but that would shift some of the resources away from the Google Drive, probably not all of them. Because of things like interviews, we don't want an applicant seeing exactly what questions we're going to ask them if they interview at our institution. But that will be a platform that'll hopefully allow us to connect with even more people. And so that is in the pipeline. Again, I'm not sure if we have an exact timeline, but within the next 1 to 2 years, I would think. I don't know, Denise, do you think that's reasonable?
I think we're meeting next week to talk about it. I met with my communication specialist here and she gave me some suggestions that I'll bring to the group when we meet. And then I think Loranda was kind of looking into some things too. So yeah, I hope you're right. And then we get something that is going to be easily accessible for everyone. I mean, that is really when I talked to my communication specialist, what I said, can you give me some ideas about creating websites that everyone can access? Because we know there are barriers for some whose institutions don't allow them to utilize like the Google Drive.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been the best we could do with what we had for a long time, which is awesome. And I think it's, allowed people to connect with lots of different resources. Like I said, I know for me, it was really helpful to know that there was at least something out there to get me started.
And everyone remember that, we have a great mentorship program. And so if you are new to urology, to GME, and you feel like I'm floundering, I don't have anyone to talk to, that you have this Acure group that you can email. but certainly email one of us, me or Catherine or Susan Schultz, if you are interested in getting an actual formal mentor if you don't have one already. Because you should never be afraid to reach out to anybody with any question you have, because there are no questions that are too little or too big. And I love, Catherine, I did that for many, many, many years and still do have a pad of paper here where I write down what I need to do this month or this week. But just that lovely timeline, I think if you could share that, I'm guessing there are other coordinators that would love to utilize that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be
that's what I had too. I have when I first started, because I didn't have you guys. So I was flying by the seat of my pants. So the first year I was here, I muddled my way through. And then the second year, every month I would just write down, this is what I would need to do for that month. And I live by it still. 13 years later, I'm still using my sheet, updating as I go along. And every month I pull it out and okay, what's coming up the next month? What do I need to remember? Because there's just so much, it's impossible to remember everything, especially because we only do it once a year. So, I mean, I think I uploaded mine, so mine should be up there somewhere. It's a little long, but it can be tweaked.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That was a hard lesson I had to learn. Because I would say I have a decent memory, but I realized if I think I'm going to remember it, I am not going to remember it. And that was maybe true at my old job, but that is not true in this job because there are so many things, and especially working for a bigger institution, there's always turnover in different offices. So last year I knew to contact so-and-so for hospital badges, and that person is long gone. And so every year the information is having to be updated, and just taking really, really good notes may seem kind of like a waste of time in the moment, but I am always thanking my past self for how detailed I was with taking notes. So there's definitely no shame in writing everything down. Because like I said, I mean, we're drinking from a fire hose. And if you don't remember, it's not because you're bad at your job. It's because this is more than what the human brain can scientifically contain. So we need to rely on our tools and other people.
Yeah, I think that's a great take home for everyone, is that, things are constantly changing. And, just over the years that I've been doing this, like Karen alluded to, she was doing it before there were ACGME requirements. And I can remember doing this, everything was on paper. You wrote with a pen or a pencil on a piece of paper for everything, and then crazy little computers came into being and move along to the current day. But so many things change, and now especially I think change really rapidly for us. So it's true that we really just kind of some days have to be magicians and also kind of have this sense of knowing what's coming, even though we don't know what's coming.
Yeah, and the sad part is we also have to know other people's jobs as well, because I just got in trouble for doing my resident week. I got them gift cards and I didn't realize that that's kind of illegal for us to do that. Oopsie. So the way the payment was done. So unfortunately, that's a no-no, but I did not know that. We have to know other people's jobs as well, not only ours, but other people's as well to do our jobs.
Yeah, I often think in the back of my mind when somebody says something like, well, did you read the policy? It's like, well, no, when I asked you a question, all I was looking for was the answer to that question. I would not say to you, if you asked me something about residency requirements, did you go and read the 72-page requirements? I would just answer that one question.
Exactly. So true. And then you're exactly right, Denise. If there's any new people at all, please, please, please just get in touch with us. We can absolutely hook you up with a mentor. It's not like you're going to don't feel like, oh, geez, I'm bothering them. You're so not. And especially there's questions that come up where I'm like, that's a really good question. And let me look into that because I don't know it off the top of my head either. So please don't ever feel embarrassed or that you're bothering anybody. We are so here for you because it's not the easiest job in the world, for sure.
And I would just add, and I think this has been mentioned before, the AUA website is not easy to navigate. And I would
No.
consider myself a pretty computer literate person. I think I do a decent job with computers, but at least every 6 months I am having to call the customer service line because I cannot get something to work. So that is another just thing to put out there. If you're struggling, sometimes it's just the resource or the platform is difficult. It's not you. So I think there was a conversation last year about how to even download the AUA update series off of the website. And I had to write instructions for me on how to download a PDF, which I would say is like a pretty basic computer skill. But again, like it is difficult to find that download the PDF for the AUA update series. So even if you just need help finding things like that, I'm happy to send you my instructions that are 3 pages long on how to download a PDF.
Even the simplest thing, like just searching the AUA website for, I don't know, the annual meeting dates for potentially next year.
Yeah.
And
It used to be so easy. It used to
yes,
just be listed, and now
yes,
you have to search, and then it
yes,
comes up from 3 years ago. And it's like, that's
exactly,
not the one I want. It's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? We certainly do not have to stay on topic. If anybody has any burning questions.
I actually have one, guys. Your the ACGME requirement for wellness and the wellness retreat and those kind of things. Do you guys actually use GME budget? Do you guys take donations? How do you guys do your wellness funding?
Our faculty basically pay for it.
But do you line item it and like record it, or is it kind of like, here you
Oh,
go,
yeah,
it's
I
just from
mean-
us, private donation?
Yeah, no, when we put our practice plan budget together, we have certain dollars that we know it's going to cost us every year for residents. You know, like their graduation dinner,
Mhm.
different meetings.
So
and-
GME line item.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a budget item.
basically, and we put it in. So like after what we do is after in-service, that afternoon, the faculty and the residents all go out. And
The
like,
faculty go with them, huh?
yeah, so they do like a team building thing. Like this year they
Okay.
went and played or last November they went and played Top Golf, the new
Nice.
thing that's out. They've gone to culinary schools to learn how to cook.
That's awesome.
They went bowling, they went to, what is it called? Kings, it's like bowling and billiards, and you get your own section of the place. So they do that at least once or twice a year.
And then other faculty donate too.
Yeah, so basically,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes out of our practice plan budget, not specifically from the.
Not GME practice
Not,
plan.
right, not the GME budget.
Okay. Anybody else? You guys do any actual funding, GME funding, since it's an ACGME requirement? We can have it on the GME budget. No? Okay, thank you.
I was asking when we first got on, and now that I have everybody here, I was just curious, and you can do like a show of hands or just say yay or nay or whatever you want. Are people still planning to do open houses prior to like recruitment season to get people? Yeah, I see Susan shaking her head no, and yeah, some of you yes. Okay.
Is the thought that it's sort of served its purpose?
That was my thought. I don't know that everybody here is in agreement with that. That's why I was just curious. And I'm seeing, a fair number of people saying yes to it. I don't think it was, I think it was great. I was just curious if it's necessary anymore. Like you said, Michelle, if it's served its purpose, and maybe not. I mean, maybe it's one of those things that will live on. Does everyone think we're going to continue virtual interviewing?
Really don't know. I was going to ask that to the group
So-
as well, because I think from a applicant standpoint, virtual is better because they save a lot of
Oh,
money,
yeah.
and I think they already take out a lot of money to go to medical school, and so I think it's the most humane thing to do for the applicants, but I know our faculty are huge fans. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm on that double AMC work group for that, and it is a huge equity issue for the URI and for students to come to. But my PD and I definitely agree to disagree. He wants in person, and we're planning for in person. And he just came back from another, what was it, prep for SUFU? And they're getting ready to go to AUA, and we just had SAU, and they were all talking about it there, all the PDs, and a lot of them want the in person back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, my boss is after this year, after this kerfuffle that we had, my
Oh,
boss
yeah.
is like absolutely in person. He's like, I'm not gonna act like a monkey anymore. He's like, we're gonna do this in person only. I'm like, we won't know. You kind of have to do what you gotta do, but
when we had in person, up until we had to change, what the Boston programs would do would the PDs would get together and they would pick certain weeks so that all would interview that week. So
Oh.
if the kid wants to come to Boston, then, he can plan out his days. for
that's
each
not
week.
bad.
Yeah,
So it helps, with some of the travel costs.
that's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're probably all in the same. We all agree that it is just it's so much better for the applicants from an equity standpoint. But sometimes we live in places that it's just easier to sell if they see it in person. So,
Absolutely. I mean, a
yeah.
lot of my residents, when they first came here, they were like, you were definitely not my first choice.
Mm.
But after I came, you moved up the ranks because they just were surprised at the tightness of our
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
And even one of them, right before COVID, he actually wanted to go to Cincinnati. And then COVID hit, and he's a germaphobe, and he was just he's like, you have no idea how happy that I am that I'm here and not in
A
Cincinnati.
surgeon germaphobe. Wow. That guy is gonna, or a girl, they are gonna have problems.
I also think the
Ah.
programs like the virtual from an expense standpoint, it doesn't
Yes.
cost us as much money.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And the
Yep.
days go quick.
Yeah.
The days go quick. You're not here from 7 to 7 because they like to hear themselves talk.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
I'd like to know exactly what happened at the SAU. What was the talk? Like, what was is it going to be like a thing? Is it going to go back into being in person?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to disclose what they were
Oh,
saying,
okay.
but yeah, they had a huge after meeting PD conversation powwow, and
Okay.
yeah.
And
Ask
whatever
your
happened,
PDs,
do you
they'll know.
remember, do
Yeah.
you guys remember was last year where that one guy was saying that he wanted to like just step away completely and do the matches in August? Do you remember that?
I think so.
It was weird, and I don't know what came of it, because he was like, oh, I think our department is just gonna step away completely and we're gonna go private and do a private match.
Oh, at the SAU, that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the SAU.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, he was
Whatever
like,
happened
well,
with that?
I don't know. I think he got shut down really hard.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am presenting next month. Goodness. And I am working on my slides. This is a deep dive into the program requirements, and drink your coffee because it's going to be dense. And in fact, we may find that we're not going to maybe have enough time. I don't know. I'm going to try to keep it as succinct as I possibly can. But I will admit, it is a great exercise to do this deep dive into the program requirements, because it's amazing how, quickly you sort of forget some certain things. And there were certain things that I've already like said, I need to schedule whatever this. For us, it was like a palliative care talk because we hadn't done anything in a while. So that's the plan for next month. Thank you so much, Catherine. As always, so good to see everyone.
Thank you, Miss Catherine. Fabulous. Excellent job.
It's awesome.
Like I said, it's very introductory, but hopefully it'll reach the right people, whether it's here or on.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if it gets posted on the website, it would be great.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right.
Bye,
Happy
ladies.
Thursday,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
I
Bye.